I'm so happy today. You guys, I'm sorry. So, not quite used to, but thank you for coming. Okay, so for those that are don't off. With this training, spoiler alert, guys are very if you come to the person, absolutely. Two years ago, or a police department, partner in the nation was like, hey, print money. People aren't going to know what's going on. And I'm telling you, I think they were bussing them in. But first of all, we didn't hire all rookie police officers. Second of all, every member of our staff prior to that, Arizona is a hotbed for this movement, which is not anything official. There's Arizona, a lot of money. I've done a lot of training in Arizona. Everybody, judges, police officers. That's the challenge for a city because you're here to residents into criminals. That's what happens when these folks get they don't care. They would them for filming her kid. That's good too. you are, the faster they go away. Walking around squeaky pigs in front of our. They were everywhere. They can film anything they can see from a public. That's why it's really important for you guys. Out in the field and you're working. When you're on driving a bus, it's important to know what people can and can't do. And these folks cannot do anything extraordinary, nothing beyond what your normal resident can do. So we'll go through some examples. I'm going to show a couple videos throughout this, and we'll talk about what went well and what could have gone better. And we'll talk about real life examples. And these are not bombastic videos. These are very middle of the road because I'm not trying to freak anybody out. These videos tend to be like 45 minutes long. Not doing that to you guys. So this is edited down. So this first video, the guy walks into a city hall building lobby about 5 minutes before it closes for the day. I'm just going. I like it. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Close it.
Can we turn the sound up a little bit more? So sorry. Frank Anderson.
Trace Anderson, thank you. You too? Huh? Oh, I don't answer questions. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, man. What for? Just because I want to. Yeah.
I get that, but there may be some people here that have privacy laws. Can't just take their picture.
What's, can you fill me in on that? Can you fill me in on that? I wasn't aware. Could you, what was your name? What's your name?
I don't have to give you my name.
No, I didn't say you did. Do you work for the city?
You said it.
Oh, cool.
Um,
Um,
you're gonna have to leave the premises, sir.
no, I'm good. Thank you.
So if that is.
There's no, I'm not gonna hurt anybody. You don't need to push the panic button. Did he tell you to push the panic button? I'm unarmed. I'm not gonna panic button. No, yeah, just the guy with the. Okay, I was just wondering who the guy was that freaked out.
No freaks here.
No freaks here. Well, I'm in the wrong place then. All right. Thanks, guys. You too. You guys locking up right now? I got about time for me to get kicked out. All right. Does anybody want to give me his name? I'm just curious. All right. Cool. Have a good one, y'all. I didn't catch your name yet. Hey, I didn't catch your name yet. What was your name? Did you have a name or no? I didn't catch it the first time. All right, thank you. All right, cool. Hey, let me know about those laws if you ever find them, okay? Let me know about those laws if you ever find them. Cool? All right, thanks, man. Have a great day. ARD 9862. Port Escape.
They didn't engage. The woman welcomed him to the town. The minute she said, "Can I help you?" He said, "No, I'm just filming." Okay, welcome to the town. Didn't engage. What else wrong? It's not even early morning now. Y'all don't have an excuse. What else went well? Guy in the salmon shirt didn't engage. Even though the guy was near his car, put on a seatbelt, followed the law, good stuff. What could have gone better?
Engaging in the office, so, so the privacy law.
He didn't have to come out from behind the security. Now, I'm pretty sure he was doing that because he felt protective of his employees. And so he was gonna go out and find out what's happening. But there was no need to come out behind the secure area and then to say there's privacy laws. There's not privacy laws. Now, he might have been thinking that sometimes there are circumstances, particularly with children, where they're in a protected status. So like foster kids often can't be filmed. But if they're in a public space, they can be filmed. It's the guardian's responsibility to get that protected person out of the way. First Amendment says it's a public space. They can film. They can film anything they can see from a public space. So he didn't need to come out. When he walked back into the secure area, it looked like that guy might stick his foot in the door. That was an opportunity to say, I'm sorry, this is not a public area. Close the door. Now, I think that First Amendment auditor saw a sign that said staff only and removed his foot, would be my guess. Because the goal of these First Amendment auditors is for them to be the good guy, government employees to be the bad guy, or to prove that residents don't understand First Amendment rights. So they want to be the good guy. So they often will go right up to the line, but if they cross it, their followers are like, I don't know what you're doing. They won't get clicks. They won't make money. So he didn't have to come out. He didn't have to engage. The other people didn't say what his name was. They just, yeah, that's ideal. But the young woman who welcomed him said, hey, my name's Tracy Anderson. We're public employees. Not that hard to get somebody's name. When he read off that license plate, I saw some faces. Like, oh, seems kind of like an invasion of privacy. But I can drive up and down the highway all day long, reading out license plates and making model of cars. Doesn't do any good. But it makes you feel kind of like, oh, that's his goal, because he knows that's going to get him clicks. Some people are like, that's right, you get them. You can do with a license plate number. Unless you're a police officer, you're not looking up anything. But it feels salacious. Feels like an invasion. And that's their goal, is to get a reaction out of people. Get somebody to say there are privacy laws. Get somebody to say you can't do that here. By making people uncomfortable. And that's why we do this training. Is if you take away the element of surprise, because you're just doing your job, going about your day, you're used to helping customers. And all of a sudden, somebody's there filming. You don't know why. And a lot of times they make a production of. So it's not just the phone like we all have. They've got it on, arms and gimbals and, they're making a production. They're trying to make themselves known. I am here filming you. It makes people uncomfortable. Now that customer who was standing there, you saw him, he asked, do you live here? The guy said, I don't answer questions. Oh, okay. Now, fortunately, he remained calm. He didn't engage. But it was also incumbent on the employee to not pick that moment to say, what's your credit card number? What was the address you're looking up? That's not the time to exchange personal information. If there's somebody filming, minimize your screen, turn your paper over, protect the privacy of your residents and the business that they're doing. If you need to, bring them back to the secure area. And if that guy was there and put his foot in the door, I'm sorry, this is not a public space. You can do that, but don't conduct business. Had that guy had a child with him, who knows how he would have reacted? Call police. Your police officers are literal peacekeepers. Call them, which if there are customers around, I recommend. Because you can control your reaction, but you can't control anybody else's. If police come, they are not going to drag that First Amendment out of there, kicking and screaming. Unless the First Amendment auditor is committing a crime, they're not going to get arrested. But the police officers can explain to residents, listen, they have a right to be here and film. Let's conduct your business over here. They can divert attention, they can move people around. But the expectation is often, and I've seen so many residents do this, want him arrested, you cannot film me. I'm telling you on camera, you cannot film me. Partly, say that all day long, it means nothing. You're in a public space. If you're uncomfortable, get out of the situation. We've seen them come in, I have experienced this. So what I used to tell my staff at Clean Creek, we tell them, if you are uncomfortable, call me. I will come sit at the front desk. I will come out to the field, whatever the case may be. Call your supervisor. If you are uncomfortable, you should never feel uncomfortable doing your job. If somebody were to call you on the phone, swearing up a blue streak, and you said, this is unacceptable, I will hang up if you keep swearing, and they keep swearing, you should hang up. It's the same thing with this. You should not feel uncomfortable doing your job. Get up and remove yourself from the situation. Call a supervisor if you're in a position where you need somebody manning the counter or whatever the case may be. Call a supervisor. Get out of the situation if you need to. Otherwise, ignore them. They will go away. These people are after clicks. If they don't get them, it's a waste of their time. So the goal is to not react. If you think you're going to react, remove yourself from the situation. So when I would come down to the front desk, I've heard everything from, I want a cup of coffee. Go get me a cup of coffee. I'm paying your salary. I'm a taxpayer. Sorry, we don't have coffee for the public, but there's a great coffee shop right up the street. Have a great day. Have them come in and say, your water fountain is disgusting. Clean that right away. Appreciate your feedback. Thank you. We'll let our facility staff know. Have a great day. Bye. Get out of the situation. I'm sorry, I'm on my way to a meeting. If you don't need help right now, have a great day. Walk away. Move yourself. Don't recommend hiding in the bathroom. Oh. They won't come in the bathroom, but they'll wait for you outside the door and you gotta come out eventually. But going back to a secure area. If you're able to, if they're filming in that area, and you're not comfortable, once you've minimized your screen or gotten any sensitive information turned over, take a break. Go get some water, go get some coffee. Remove yourself from the situation. They'll stand around and we'll show some examples. They'll just keep filming random things, trying to make people look. It's weird. It's an awkward feeling when somebody's just standing there pointing cameras at everything. Don't let it shake you. Let them film, let them do their thing. They're in a public space. But take care of your residents. Make sure they feel okay too. And having police there often helps. So don't hesitate. So where that guy was like, I'm not armed, I'm not going to hurt you. You don't have to hit the panic button. It's a customer then. He could have panicked. Hitting the panic button is completely justified. It doesn't have to be an active armed robbery to call the police. So I don't want you to feel like, I don't know. It's not like an active emergency, like nobody's throwing punches yet. If you feel like the situation is starting to feel a little tense, call the police. Have them come out. They're very familiar with these folks. Again, the goal is to give them nothing to work with. If they get a bunch of nothing, they will leave. But if they get reaction, if they start getting clicks, then all the ones around the country are like, oh, hey, wait a minute. My knot's popping. I'll head up there. It's nice in the summertime, I hear. I'll go hang out and make some money. They come from all over the country. A lot of times they're just passing through. It's like a side hustle for some of these folks. But they make money. Don't make them money. My personal goal in life is to get this industry out of business. Because if everybody knows and nobody is surprised, there goes their income stream. Don't have to deal with them anymore because it's a hassle. You guys have your work to do. You're busy. Do not have time for this nonsense. but it's here. So this is where I go back to my GI Joe, knowing half of that. So, all right, watch another video here. I often make a number of dated cultural references, so. Sorry about that.
Oh, I'm fine, thank you.
Are you filming something
Yeah,
for,
to film.
do you have a permit or anything for this?
Do I need a permit?
To film inside a city building?
Yeah,
Yes.
I need a permit.
Yes. Are you with the city?
Am I with it?
Like, do you work for the city of Mesquite?
No.
Okay.
Do you?
Yes. Can I help you with, are you looking for something specific?
No.
Well, do you know what office you're at all?
Mesquite, tourism, and
Yeah. Can I ask what this project is for?
you can ask.
I'm gonna have to ask you to leave my office. What are you here for? I don't understand. Do you want to come sit down and talk about?
No, no, no. I'm just filming. That's all.
Filming?
Just filming.
Are you filming her or
Everything I can see from a public space.
is this gonna be used for something?
I don't understand the line of questions.
Because this is a public, it's our office, so I just need to understand what you're filming. I don't mean any offense or anything.
Oh, so you say I have to have a permit?
Usually we have, okay,
Well, they said I need a permit, so I was waiting for that permit.
What kind of a permit you
I don't-
applying for?
I don't know. They said it.
Permit to film?
That's what they told me. Yeah, the woman in here told me I need a permit to film, so
Make sure that all you do is film and you don't try to get into a non-private area, public area. You're doing okay right now.
oh yeah, of course. So I don't need a permit to film in public. Cool. So apparently I don't have to have a permit to film in this public place, but I do need a permit to film individuals in a public place. Obviously, they're going to try to do what government does and test whether you know your rights or not. And then if you don't know, they are going to abuse you as usual. So obviously he seemed like a decent guy right off the bat, but just like all the others, he's going to try to test and see what you do and don't know. And if there's anything you don't know, this tyrant will abuse you. No regard for the law, no regard for law and order, just regard for what he feels like enforcing. His own will.
Calling him a tyrant, he was just like, okay. That's horrific, because that's tough. They call you names, and the government's trying to abuse you and all this. That's a tough situation to be in. He maintained his cool. He knew what was going on. What else went wrong? All right, she engaged. She got herself out of the situation when she realized this is going nowhere. Because they will talk a rabbit hole for an hour. Because their goal is to make you say something that's incorrect. There's privacy laws, whatever the case may be. They'll just keep talking. A lot of times they'll ask baiting questions about politics. You know, they'll ask a police officer, what do you think blue line stands for? You know, we had them ask our park rangers about the sheriff. We had a polarizing sheriff years ago in Maricopa County in Arizona. And they would ask, oh, what do you think about Sheriff Joe? About his policies? And our park rangers were like, wait a minute. See where this is going. I'm sorry, I gotta go. If you need help, please shout. And got out of the situation. They will stand there and talk with people till the cows come home. She got herself out of it. She could have done it quicker, but I don't think she knew what First Amendment auditors were. And again, in a city, a lot of times you do have permits. If somebody's coming in to film a commercial and wants to close down the streets and things like that, that's a different situation. And if she worked for tourism, she might have been thinking, oh, is this guy wanting to film, a big film here? Or we could get on the map, be famous. And then she was like, wait a minute, this is going nowhere. And that's the goal, get out of the situation. And it was kind of abrupt. And she never got out of the doorway, which was on her part, a good move on her part. But he didn't try to get in. You heard him say the magic words, anything I can see from a public space. If anybody says they're filming anything they can see from a public space, they are 100% a First Amendment auditor. Because sometimes you have residents who come in filming because they want a fence permit. And they heard one answer, they were told no by one employee, and they think, well, I'm gonna ask somebody else. Maybe they'll say yes, but I'm gonna get it on tape and make sure. You don't know. So asking, how can I help you? That's good customer service. Minot has excellent customer service. You don't want to sacrifice that. But the minute somebody says, no, you can't help me, I'm just filming, anything like that, okay, you're gonna know what's up. Yep, okay, going back to work. Thank you. Have a great day. That's the key. Don't engage. Don't start this round and round and round and round because they'll waste your whole afternoon given an opportunity. And then they'll say, look how wasteful government is. They just stood there and talked about nothing for hours so they didn't have to work. These folks are in it for the clicks. They're in it to show that government doesn't know what they're doing. But you know what you're doing. So you're going to know all those signs when you see them and know, don't engage. And if you feel uncomfortable, you should never feel uncomfortable. Get out of the situation. Got a meeting. You got to go take this call. I didn't hear a phone ring. Oh, I did. I think it's an emergency. Get out of the situation. Call the supervisor over. Whatever you need to do, you should feel comfortable doing your job. And these folks try to make it uncomfortable just to get a reaction. That's all they're trying to do. Don't give it to them. For your residents, call the police. And if you need to, educate. You're in a public space, but I can bring you back to the back if you want to keep doing business. You've got options. But it is tough. You're all glass, which is really great for transparency. But the folks that are kind of midway back should know that there's a First Amendment auditor out front because the cameras we have are really good and can zoom really far. So if the person at the front desk knows there's a First Amendment auditor and is just going about their business, nothing sensitive, but the person halfway back is doing something sensitive, they should probably minimize their screen. So we used to have like chats, like instant messaging, say, hey, First Amendment auditor here, front desk. And everybody behind would know, all right, I minimize my screen if I'm working with credit card numbers, personal information. Or if I'm uncomfortable, even if I'm not the person they're confronting, even if I'm not sitting right in the front, if I'm halfway back, but I feel, like this is making me very uncomfortable, that's a good time for a coffee break. Get up and leave the situation. That's okay. We're totally empowered to do that. You should not feel uncomfortable. The third day out here. And you guys ask questions. This is super casual. It's so casual, the computer is casual.
Hello. Hello, how are you ladies doing? Good, we're just taking some video.
Cold out there today, huh?
That's a bit chilly.
Yeah. Especially if you're from Florida.
Oh, wow.
He doesn't,
I just thought that.
well, you guys are right on it.
Yeah.
We tried.
Okay, so the parcel ID for that is flat 10, lot 285. You're welcome. I know.
Bye. Pass. There you go, guys. That's how it should be done.
Oh, that's all right.
Stand there and film, try to make people uncomfortable. These ladies were not having it. They were gonna do their job. Don't blame, don't care. They did a great job. It's like nails on the chalkboard to me. They're like, that's a pass. Act like it's an official audit. But that's the reaction. No reaction. Knowing where your private space is, going behind secure areas. If you're out in the field, identifying what is your workspace. Police do it with crime scene tape. Public Works can be combed and tape. If you're in Public Works and you're out fixing manholes, and you've got a manhole cover up, you wouldn't let a resident meander on through and fall down a hole. Same thing with the First Amendment on. They don't have any more rights because they're filming. We had a question in the last session about them patching the road. Can they ask people, can you film from the sidewalk? It's not safe to be in the roadway. Absolutely. You would ask any resident to do that. You don't want to play in hot tub. You don't want them falling down a manhole. You don't want them on a crime scene. As a tourist, if I'm meandering up on a crime scene, they're going to tell me to get out. Same thing with these First Amendment robbers. They have no additional rights than any resident. But they also don't need an extra level of customer service because they tell you they don't need help. And you're like, but I think you do. What can I help you with? Nope. Disengage. Walk away. And if they're trying to engage in weird ways, like asking for coffee, telling you about a dirty water cooler, thank you for your feedback. There's a coffee shop right up the street. Great day. Get out of the situation. I often get asked, film them back. Please don't do that. You're opening yourself up for public records requests at that point. You don't want to escalate the situation. If you're the kind of person who laughs at funerals, like me, it's inappropriate, and I know that about myself. One woman said, what if I start laughing at them? Well, you can, but it's going to escalate the situation. Because then they're going to come, why are you laughing at me? What are you doing? And they're just going to engage more. That's a level of engagement. Get out of the situation. If you know you're the kind of person that's going to react in some way, get out of the situation. Protect your residents. Protect the family with kids there who doesn't understand the First Amendment. They, excuse me, they came to our post office at one point during the holiday season, so it's packed. And our residents did not react well. They're screaming at the guy, I told you you can't film me. We're calling the cops. They're going to drag you out of here. And the guy is egging him on. He's like, you should mail yourself to North Korea because you don't even know your own rights. And they're screaming at each other. And the postmaster's like, who needs stamps? You know? So the police officers came. They responded. They did not arrest anybody, which did irritate a lot of our residents. They want to see somebody arrested. Those people were not committing a crime. They're not going to get arrested. But the police were able to say they have a right to film here. And then one of our officers stood in front of the First Amendment auditor and was like, well, do you need to film people if they're asking you not to? And the guy's like, well, yeah, I can film. And the police officer just kept him talking. Meanwhile, another officer was like standing in front of the woman who was particularly upset and like telling the post office employees, like, hurry it up, and got her out of there. Everybody was safe. Nobody threw a punch. And that's the goal. Protect residents, protect yourself. Don't put yourself in a situation where you feel like, oh, I just want to punch somebody. You know, I just want to yell at this person. Don't do it. Walk away. Make them go away. Feel bad for your neighbors because they're going to go to other cities. Get them out of Minot by being poor. What questions do you have? Yes, ma'am.
You're looking at workplace harassment and some of the behavior statements, comments, and engagement tactics that they're looking to employ. At what point is that defined as workplace harassment?
It's a very gray area. And that's why the goal is to get out of the situation. So just like on a phone call, if somebody's calling, swearing at you, you tell them, I'm not going to listen. I'm not going to be sworn at. I will hang up this phone. Warn them, hang up the phone. If somebody is in front of you, just going at you. Listen, I'm here. If you have business to conduct, I want to be able to help you. You clearly do not have business, so I'm going to step away. And if you're in a secure area, get out of the way or go to a secure area if you can. Get out from in front of them. Call the supervisor. Let me find somebody who can help you. Call the police. Because the challenge is people can swear. They can be mean. We've dealt with residents who were just mean. You know, people aren't happy a lot of times. When they're dealing with government, a lot of times their water's been turned off. Their child's been arrested. You know, they're not having their best day a lot of times. So these people do not have the right to harass any more than a resident does. Get out of the situation, walk away. Have a supervisor come, have police come. Again, typically these folks don't want to be the bad guy. They want to be the good guy. So they'll harass to a certain point. I do know you have one First Amendment auditor who is not as familiar with the laws. And the police are very aware. So if you're dealing with somebody who is actively harassing, call police. And it is a 911 situation. And I know a lot of people are like, I don't know if it's an emergency. It's not like someone's waving a gun around. I don't know. Yes. Call 911, hit a panic button if you've got it. This is a situation. So you can get out of the situation, you know, remove yourself, but there's still other people around. So having a peace officer on site is very helpful. So if that's the case, my first recommendation is to physically leave and call police. That answer your question? Kind of.
No, we're just HR. So I mean, as far as our responsibility to protect our employees from workplace harassment, where is the city's line of responsibility with that?
And that's where the city does not want people to feel uncomfortable doing their jobs. Get up, leave. Call police. Let police deal with that. Because they know the laws, they know those boundaries, but they're gray. Because again, unless somebody's committing a crime, which yelling at someone isn't a crime. So that's where police needs to get involved. So get away from the situation. No one should feel uncomfortable doing their job at any point, whether it's a resident or these people.
That's probably a question, Shane. Where does that line get drawn?
I mean, disorderly conduct is any behavior is harassing, annoying, or alarming and serves no legitimate purpose. So it very well could be a crime.
It could be. And that's where the police have to get involved to answer that question. Because if police are going to make an arrest, they also need to make sure it sticks. Because if it doesn't stick, then these folks are enabled and they come back really harassed. So that's the goal, is police on scene. They can determine, is this crossing the line into criminal behavior, criminal harassment? And again, typically, these folks, they'll be aggressive. They're particularly aggressive towards police officers. They tend to get much more aggressive towards police than they do typical employees. But they can be aggressive. But they want to be the good guy. They don't make money if they're the bad guy. Good questions.
You mentioned recording this public information. So does that make their initial recording public information then?
Is they're a private citizen. So as a public, if you're using your work phone, that's all public information.
Okay.
So they're a private citizen filming. So if I'm walking around with my, filming Minot, beautiful city, you wouldn't have the right to that information. But as a public employee using your public device, that opens the door. And again, it just escalates the situation. The minute you start filming them back, it just amps everything up. And the goal is to mitigate, get in front of it, nip it in the bud. Just don't give them a reaction.
Private areas need to be defined, such as the sign on the door that says staff only on this point.
It is ideal. So that's something I was working with the city attorneys yesterday, because I know public workspace is a challenge. That's been identified and is a high priority for leadership. You have badge readers, and that's good because you can verbally say, this is not a public area, close the door. But it helps to have signage. And I recommend signage like no unauthorized access or authorized access only. Because staff only, you oftentimes are bringing the public back to do business. So then it kind of opens the door to like, well, that person's not staff. So it's just easier oftentimes to say authorized access only. But having the badge reader is good. And that's clearly, this is not public space, but verbalizing it helps because again, they want to be the good guy. So if you've said this is not public and there's a badge reader, but if that door is propped open for whatever reason, the badge reader broke, whatever the case may be, that's where it gets a little bit weird if you don't have signage. Yes, ma'am.
Kind of a silly comment, but if they're making money, filming you, for example, are you entitled to financial compensation?
That is the third time today I've been asked that question. And I love that. Pay for effort. Yeah.
They're recording.
Say that again.
That's where I was going for, if their video is public, because then you just make money off them beforehand.
Right. Yeah, unfortunately, and you don't want to have dealings with these folks. You're not going to invoice them. So, no, but this is because they can edit these videos. So when police respond, and I know they have a policy that, you know, anytime they're interacting, their camera is on, that's a good thing. Because sometimes these folks will edit videos to make it seem like something else happened. So it's really good for PD to have body cam footage in case something goes viral and you need to be able to mitigate that. But no, they won't give financial compensation, but A for effort.
Then I have a secondary question. If they're filming you, do you recommend taking your camera out and filming them? Do they leave quicker?
No, they'll stay longer. No reaction is the best reaction. Go back to doing your job. Can I help you? No. Great, have a great day. Going right back to work. Just do your job. If you can. If you're working with sensitive information, that's not the time to take a break. Do whatever you need to do. But no reaction is the best reaction. Boring is the best. This is not the time to display the best customer service in the world and insist that you can help them. There's nothing you can say or do to help these folks. They're there to get a negative reaction from people by surprising them, by making them uncomfortable. And they don't care if it's a resident, they don't care if it's an employee, they love it more if it's a police officer. No reaction is best. They will get bored and leave. You saw those guys, they're filming recycling, flyers, all this kind of stuff. No one cares. And normally they remove those videos really quickly. We had one of those in Queen Creek. They came in, they were filming, everybody did such a good job. I was so proud of them. I went to download the video and he'd taken it off because all of his little First Amendment buddies were like, you suck at this. Oh, Louis did so good. Everybody did so good. They usually will take it down. That's not what they're going for. They're going for somebody saying, you can't do that. That's illegal. There are privacy laws. You have to leave. They don't. And if they're harassing, at least make that call. At least get them on scene. You cannot control other people's reactions. If there are children in the area, please call the police. People do not react well to their children being filmed. In many cases, these guys will say, I'm not filming your kids, which usually doesn't happen to people responding to that kind of thing. But some of them will. And you don't want to put your residents in a place where they become the criminal. There was one circumstance in Texas where a woman's daughter had been arrested and she's in the police station in the lobby having a conversation with the officer about what are the next steps. Clearly, this is not a great day for her. She's emotional. And of course, that's when a First Amendment auditor strolling in, filming. And she says, you can't film me. It's like you're in public space. She said, I told you, you can't film me. The officer says, man, can you just not film? This is not a great day. He goes, I can film anything I want. I'm in public space. And the woman turns around and lunges for her. Fortunately, the officer caught her, or there was contact made, but then she would have been. That's not the situation you want for your residents. That's not the situation you want for your community. So no reaction is best. If there are people around, have police called if you need to take people to a secure area to do business. Because a lot of people that come down here, and they're like, no, I came here to get this permit or whatever it is. They made the trek. They want to do it right then. Take them to a secure area. Whatever you can do to protect yourself, residents, and your buildings, they do get bored if they're not.
It's a little public place that they can film it.
Okay, so there's HIPAA laws in hospitals. And I'm not an attorney, so to be clear. Um, But my husband works in the hospital system and they don't even let media in without an escort because they're all.
It seems like it's not nice.
So I would have to ask on that, but my gut reaction is no. But not an attorney. And municipal over here, so. Other questions?
The school districts deal with this.
School districts, because they're a public space, is relatively narrow, but they have the lobbies and stuff. They tend to just stay in that public space. And again, a lot of these folks won't film kids. So they have police on site. They keep them in those public spaces. They can't go wandering around schools. And honestly, I haven't seen a lot of that. They really tend to go after police and county. Really that sort of that side of government more than the schools. Because the kid stuff, that can really result in some violence.
I think there's very few schools that you can even get past the entry without. I mean, they're so secure.
I know in Arizona, they're kind of little fortresses. And I don't know how they are here, but in Arizona, it's like the lobby is, a quarter of this room at best. That's it. To get past that, even the kids have badges. So.
So for the library, and I've been kind of talking about this with some of the other librarians in North Dakota, because some of these smaller towns have experienced these situations. And one of the things that was discussed that a couple libraries have tried was like reading out loud, like essentially like a story time from a book that they know is copyrighted, because then that also prevents it from being able to be put online or be quickly taken down. Is that something you think is just more going to escalate the situation, or it kind of depends on the case?
It does depend on the case. It tends to escalate. People have tried playing copywritten music in the background. They try to read books. They'll try to turn on television, all kinds of stuff. It doesn't really work that well. Sometimes the social media sites will take it down, but they can also leave things out and they can edit on the back end. So honestly, I mean, if it's story time anyway.
Yeah.
But to do that as a deterrent, not gonna do it. Yeah, and they do edit these videos. I mean, again, their goal is to make government look bad and trampling rights. So anything you can do to avoid escalating, that's the goal. And I have tip sheets for everybody.
What?
You see here? Oh.
I hear this.
I don't think